morning, viewers, and welcome to Justice Now. Tonight's special report takes us back to one of America's most haunting unsolved mysteries, the Lizzy Borden case. It is a story that shocked a quiet town of Fall River in 1892 and continues to fascinate true crime followers to this day. Lizzy Andrew Borden was born July 19, 1860. She was 32 years old at the time of the murders, and she stood around 5 feet tall, 4 inches, medium built, with brown hair and gray eyes. She lived with her father, Andrew Borden, and her stepmother, Abby Borden. And the Bordens were wealthy, but their home was known for being cold and tense. And Lizzy was described as quiet and proper, deeply religious, active in her church and community, and few could have imagined that she'd ever be accused of one of the most brutal crimes in American history. Let's move into the morning of August 4th, 1892, the day Fall River changed forever. Natalie, walk us through the details of the crime.
That morning, Lizzy's father, Andrew Borden, left home for his usual business errands. When he returned around 10:45 a.m., Lizzy was home with the maid, Bridget Sullivan. A short while later, Lizzy claimed she found her father's body slumped on the couch, his face nearly unrecognizable. He had been struck at least 10 times with a hatchet. Upstairs, Abby Borden's body was discovered. She had been hit 19 times. Most of the blows were to the back of her head.
Such violence in a small, quiet household. Horrifying. What evidence was found?
The scene showed no signs of forced entry, suggesting someone inside the home committed the murders. A handless hatchet was discovered in the basement, believed to be the weapon. Witness reported seeing Lizzy burning a blue dress shortly after the murders. She claimed it was stained with paint, but police suspected it was blood.
But yet, there were no witnesses?
There were none. The maid claimed to be outside washing the windows when the attack occurred. Lizzy's sister Emma was out of town. With no eyewitness, no blood on Lizzy when police arrived, and no clear motive that could be proven, detectives faced a mystery that baffled even them. Investigators also learned that she had tried to purchase prussic acid, which is a poison, just days before the killing.
Sammy, help us understand how the investigation and trial unfolded.
Sure. The investigation began immediately, but from the start, police seemed uncertain how to handle a well-known upper-class woman accused of murder. Lizzy gave several statements that didn't always match. She changed her story about her location during the murders more than once. Public opinion split. Some believed she was guilty, and some believed that she was framed. By June 1893, Lizzy stood trial for the murders. The courtroom was packed with reporters from across the country. The prosecution argued that she killed her father and stepmother out of anger and resentment. The defense countered that the evidence was purely circumstantial. No one saw her commit the act, and her calm, polite behavior didn't fit the image of a killer.
And how did it end?
After a 2-week trial, an all-male jury acquitted Lizzy. She left the courtroom free, though public suspicion never faded. For the rest of her life, she lived in Fall River, where many continued to whisper that she got away with murder.
Now let's turn to psychological and criminological analysis. Natalie, how does routine activities theory explain this case?
Routine activities theory, developed by Cohen and Felsen in 1979, says that crime occurs when 3 things come together: a motivated offender, a suitable target, and lack of capable guardianship. In this case, Lizzy was the motivated offender. She reportedly felt trapped in her father's strict household. Andrew controlled finances and limited his daughter's independence. The suitable target were her father and stepmother, both alone in the house that morning, and the absence of capable guardians, no police nearby, no witnesses inside, which gave her the opportunity. According to this theory, the murders didn't just happen because of anger or impulse. They happened because the environment made them possible.
So you believe opportunity, not just emotion, drove the crime?
Exactly. Even if she was motivated by resentment, the key element is opportunity. That morning was one of the few times she was alone with both victims. It's a textbook example of routine activities theory in action.
Sammy, what's your perspective from a psychological standpoint?
I think the psychological context complicates that view. Lizzy grew up under extreme emotional control, a distant father, little affection, and no freedom. That kind of environment can cause internalized anger and depression, but it doesn't automatically make someone violent. It's possible she suffered from psychological stress or even a dissociative disorder. Also, routine activities theory reminds us that opportunity doesn't equal guilt. Someone else could have had access. The Borden house wasn't locked, and several suspects were dismissed too quickly. So, this case might reflect how societal biases and weak investigation practices shape the outcome more than the theory itself.
Interesting. So, Natalie, you see routine activities theory as the framework for how the crime unfolded, while Sammy sees it as a reminder that multiple people could have had opportunity.
Right. Regardless of the guilt, this theory helps us understand how a crime like this could occur within an ordinary routine, during a quiet morning in a family home.
Okay, to close, I'd like each of you to give your final thoughts. Natalie, if you were the judge, what verdict would you have given?
I would have ruled guilty of second-degree murder. Lizzy's inconsistent statements, destruction of evidence, and opportunity all point to her involvement. She may not have planned it meticulously, but the circumstances suggest deliberate action. Second degree fits the evidence, intentional but not necessarily premeditated.
And Sammy?
I would have upheld the acquittal. The prosecution never proved her guilt beyond reasonable doubt. The justice system should be based on evidence, not speculation. The lack of blood evidence and the poor police work makes me believe she was unfairly targeted because she was a woman who didn't fit traditional gender roles.
Two powerful perspectives, and that's why this case is important. The Lizzy Borden murders expose how gender, class, and social expectations intertwine with the criminal justice process. Whether guilty or innocent, Lizzy became an icon of how mystery and myth can blend into American history.
Another interesting piece of this investigation was the aspect of Lizzy's uncle and Andrew's brother-in-law, and John Morse. He was considered a suspect because he visited the victims at the house the night before the murders, had breakfast with them, and was the first person to leave the house the morning of. His alibi seemed suspicious to some due to his excessive detail and his odd, detached behavior at the scene of the crime, which made him an object of public suspicion, but he was never charged. A possible motive discussed was financial gain. This was never proven to be true, but many critics say otherwise.
Thank you, Natalie and Sammy, for your insights. And thank you, viewers, for joining us on Justice Now. Stay tuned for more stories where criminology meets real life.